When designing for jewelry, we stock three types of metals. We have brass, which looks quite a bit like yellow gold. We have copper, which is more reddish. And we have nickel silver, which when polished is pretty indistinguishable from sterling silver. All of them have their advantages and disadvantages, or attributes I should say. Nickel silver is very hard, it's very strong. It doesn't forge very well, it's hard to texture. It certainly can be done, but it's a very hard metal. Copper is a very soft metal, it forges really easily, it's easy to put texture into it. Copper and brass, well, any metal will oxidize, and oxidizing is when the metal tarnishes a little bit. But if jewelry designs that use brass and copper, oftentimes what we'll do is we'll spray them with a fixative to keep them looking the way you want them to look. A couple things about the metal as well is the gauges. We have different gauge metals. Some are thick, some are thin. So you can see, I don't know if you can see the difference in these, but this is a 22 gauge, the nickel silver, and this is an 18 gauge. So the higher the number, the thinner the metal. So as you're doing your design, you want to use the thinnest metal you can that'll be structurally sound, because that'll help keep the weight down. Once you've decided what metals you want to use, you're going to have to lay the design out. And one thing we want to avoid is we want to avoid this, where they've laid out their design, they cut it out, but all this metal right here is now pretty much wasted. Every chance we get, we want to try to conserve our materials because they're awfully expensive. So what you'll do is you'll draw your designs out on a piece of graph paper. You'll get this exactly the way you want it. And then once you have that, and again here you'll notice I did all my drawing on the margins. You should be able to get quite a few designs out of one sheet of graph paper. But I have my designs here, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out, and I'm going to cut each one out individually. By doing it that way, I can maximize the use of the material. I can also, by doing it this way, I can make sure all the pieces are going to line up the way I want them to by doing it with paper first. Working with metal is a reductive process. In other words, we're constantly taking away. We can't add to it. It's not like a drawing where if you make a mistake you can erase it and then redraw or add back to it. So in metal, if you make a mistake, it's there forever. So you really want to be careful about making sure you know exactly what you're going to do. So let's say we want to cut these three pieces out of this piece of metal. Now this is pretty easy because this one should lay out pretty well. I'm just going to take this piece, that would fit there. This piece I could put right here. And this piece then, you have to kind of make a decision. Would it be best to put it here? It might actually be better just to put it right here. And then I have this basic square, and I've really minimized the amount of waste. I'm left with a good piece here and over here. So once I have it laid out, I'm going to take some clear packing tape, cut off a piece, line them back up, make sure I have them right where I want them. I can probably push this one over a little bit. And then I'll take the tape and tape those pieces down. Now the nice thing is now I can come in with my saw and I can just cut right around the paper and not have to try and draw those things onto the metal. If you are going to make a mistake when you're cutting, as you start cutting these things out, make the mistake to the outside of your line, because then you can always take a file and clean it up and bring it back. You should try to stay as close to the line as possible, but if you cut inside, there's really no coming back from that mistake.